We now have our first duo of the day, and Brooke Rankmore is joining us from AMRRIC, and you met Brooke yesterday. And joining Brooke is Kaylene Doust, and Kay has been working with Roper Gulf Regional Council for the past 2 years, bringing qualifications in vet nursing, 40 years of industry experience, and more recently a Bachelor of Arts in International Aid and Community Development from Murdoch Uni. Kay manages Roper Gulf Regional Council's animal management program and feels privileged to have been involved in delivering veterinary service programs in remote Indigenous communities. These experiences have contributed to a keen interest in sustainable and community-led approaches to animal management in underserved communities. So Kay and Brooke join us to discuss building an inclusive community through remote Indigenous community animal management programs, challenges and opportunities. Welcome.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting me to come and speak here this afternoon. So I think I'm just going to start off with my acknowledgement, and I'll start that by saying firstly that we acknowledge and pay the respects to the people of the Yugambeh language region of the Gold Coast and all their descendants, both past and present. We also acknowledge the many Aboriginal people from other regions, as well as Torres Strait and South Sea Islander people who now live in the local area and have made an important contribution to the community. We've got quite a long acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Larrakia people, the traditional custodians of Darwin, where the AMRRIC's office is based, the Jarwin, Daggerman and Waterman people, the traditional custodians of Katherine and surrounds, where the Roper Gulf office is based, and the traditional custodians of the lands, waters and communities where you all come from today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and thank them for their ongoing commitment to care for country. Thanks.
I'll do the changes if you want. Okay, so today, actually what I'm going to do is do this. So today we're presenting on behalf of our representative organisations, AMRRIC and Roper Gulf Regional Council, about what we believe building an inclusive veterinary community means. Namely, building an inclusive veterinary community means including all demographics across Australia in our overarching industry aims. Increasing people's access to veterinary services, education around animal health care, capacity building of pet owners, responsible pet ownership, and raising awareness for the value and the role of veterinary work in maintaining human, animal and environmental health.
Okay, so Roper Gulf Regional Council covers an area of around 201,000 square kilometres, south of Kakadu to the northern edge of the Barkly Tablelands, across to the Gulf of Carpentaria in the Northern Territory. Approximately 6,486 people reside in the Roper Gulf region. That's the 2021 census. 75% of our population identify as Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander, and 12 of the Roper Gulf 13 elected councillors, including our mayor. Actually, that's actually 13 now because we have a new deputy mayor. So 13 of our elected councillors and our mayor are Aboriginal and represent each ward within the council region.
As I talked about AMRRIC yesterday, I'm not going to go over it again because we've got quite a lot to get through, so I'm just going to skip that. You all know who we are. Okay, so this map, taken from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, basically colours Australia according to remoteness, and the pale yellow area is what is defined as remote Australia. The red dots represent discrete Indigenous communities across Australia, and the larger dots mean larger population of 500 or more, with the smaller dots representing populations of just 50 people and under. So as you can see, the majority of Indigenous communities are located within very remote Australia. And it's important to understand that no two of these Indigenous communities are the same, and community dynamics are not static.
So now that we have a bit more of an understanding of remote communities, we can look into the Roper Gulf and AMRRIC programs in these communities. So Dr. Sam Phelan was a founding member of AMRRIC and has been an invaluable mentor to me while I slowly found my feet in this very challenging role. The program is funded by the Roper Gulf Regional Council, and our model is a regular program of treatment visits 3 times per year and desexing surgical programs 2 to 3 times per year. We use quality oral and topical tick and parasite treatments with visits to 11 remote communities and several outstations. We offer other services, including euthanasia at owner's request, and subsidised basic vaccinations as well as phone advice. The core objectives are to keep community animal populations at manageable levels using ethical and empathetic means. Our program seeks to build relationships and trust with owners. In years gone by in other communities, mass animal cullings have taken place, which was highly traumatic. This program was designed to find better ways. Part of Council's overarching aims and objectives are to create employment opportunities where possible for Aboriginal people in remote communities. Roper Gulf employs casual workers to assist us on our community visits as Aboriginal liaisons.
Objectives of AMRRIC's One Health programs are to improve the health and welfare of companion animals in communities, to contribute to the improvement of human health by reducing the transmission of disease from animals to people, educating people about parasites and disease in companion animals, and consequently expanding people's concepts regarding their own health and disease prevention, to provide a means of managing large, relatively uncontrolled dog populations, which leads to reductions in the problems associated with unmanaged overpopulations of companion animals. And then through education and advocacy to empower the community to achieve animal health and welfare standards, to provide the knowledge, training and resources to enable the community to take responsibility for the effective management of companion animals into the future. Oh, that's me again. Yeah. So what does AMRRIC do? Basically, our core 3 areas of work are animal management services, so providing veterinary programs which cover off really on overpopulation, so desexing and parasitic control. Strengthening capacity and knowledge, so providing training, on-ground training to local people within the community, and also our education programs in schools and just within community, and our One Health impact. So, me too. Yep, providing culturally safe and responsive veterinary services. As I said, we've got parasite prevention, overpopulation. These things lead to nuisance, and then also issues around litter management, waste management within communities. Of course, covering off on zoonoses and zoonotic transmission. And also, of course, cheeky dogs or aggression. We also deal with welfare cases. Of course, most of these communities only get a vet twice a year, so of course these animals are lucky if they've got a welfare issue, such as something like this when the vet's there. And of course, there's large gaps when there is no assistance available. We also, as I said, provide education, training and building local capacity. So that's through our education school programs, but also our one-on-one communications with community. So as I said, we collect census data and go house to house with talking with owners and sharing two-way knowledge that way. And then there's accredited and non-accredited training as well. So we've got a huge amount of education resources that are free, and so some of them are over there you can have a look at, but also they're on our website, so please feel free to use and access those or contact us. And then what we're also starting to do quite a lot, given that we discussed yesterday the amount of language groups. So we do a lot of animations at the moment, seems to be working very well in getting our messages across. And also with the animations, we're trying to move, we have been translating them into some of the key languages, but that's very expensive, and the language centres that do it are actually very busy translating stuff. So we're actually trying to move into some animations where we don't actually need to use language. So just through the animation itself, actually sort of sending off certain messages, and hopefully, like, even without words, we can all sort of get the understanding of what's going on. Oh, yep, okay. And then this one, if we can turn this one up a little bit. So I'm going to keep talking over the top of it as well. People have already told me in the conference that a lot of you know about it, so that's fantastic. This is another thing you can use. This is our rebranding of our education program. It was done with the school kids in Fink, which is south of Alice Springs. You can see our Dog Mob Cat Crew t-shirts. Basically, our education officer and an Indigenous music group went out to the community. The kids were involved in every aspect, not only the logo and the development with artists, but also writing the lyrics, singing it, making the video. It's a great resource, and the kids love it. So that's just some of the things that we're doing to sort of engage the kids in things that they like. So, go, Kay.
Okay. So cats and dogs play important and versatile role in many communities, serving as loyal companions, physical and spiritual protectors, hunting aids, a source of warmth on cold nights, and helping to ward off pests and invaders. Many animals roam freely, out of choice, but there's always someone looking after them, an individual, a family, or sometimes an entire community. For some, dogs are woven into the fabric of the community and culture, language centres, kinship systems, and totems that are important cultural determinants of health. Dogs are a feature of community life. They go everywhere with their owners or bosses and will patiently wait until their boss is ready to go home. They accompany them to the shop, to the school, the health centre, fishing and hunting, and sometimes dogs will take themselves out fishing on sandbars or swimming in creeks and rivers to cool off, but sadly they are a favourite meal for crocodiles. There are some households that have no animals, but that's a minority. Cats are sometimes kept as pets also, and usually stay inside during the day away from the heat, and dogs. They're valued for hunting snakes and rats. We strongly recommend desexing as populations can quickly get out of control. These relationships can have tremendous benefits for the health and well-being of people in communities and may play an important role as social and cultural determinants of health, which are the non-medical factors that can influence the health of people. And I did just want to add one thing that I thought we should clarify. When somebody tells you in community that a dog is cheeky, that doesn't mean they're cute and a bit naughty. That actually means that they will bite you. So people will warn you of that, and take that seriously when they tell you that they're cheeky. And yesterday we were talking about sorry business too, and I thought I should clarify that. So sorry business is the funeral and the ritual that surrounds a death in community. So what is the need for companion animals in remote communities, and how can we make sure these animals, their owners and their communities are considered when working towards building an inclusive...
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Inclusive veterinary
community. On average, Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders have higher rates of disease burden and lower life expectancies compared to non-Indigenous Australians. This is particularly true for those living in rural and remote communities. Social and cultural determinants of health, which would include animal ownership and human-animal interactions, are believed to account for a significant proportion of the health gap between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and non-Indigenous Australians. For remote Indigenous communities, geography, climate, socioeconomics, culture and historic factors are compounded by wide-scale overcrowding, poor housing conditions and ongoing injustices such as trauma and racism. For remote community residents, food security issues, lack of affordable access to goods, inadequate services, education and employment opportunities mean that disadvantage and poverty are unfortunately commonplace. All of these social determinants impact companion animal populations just as they do people.
So, as we discussed yesterday, basically I'm not going to go over it because we are going to run out of time, but there's a whole range of social and cultural determinants, and I talked about them in detail yesterday. But basically, if we work through them, there's social poverty, and you can see here the map of the social disadvantage definitely covers very similarly and mirrors the remoteness map of Australia. There's the geographic isolation, and oops, that's UK, but it's okay, I think, thank you. If we look at the remoteness map again, I thought we were going to do vet stuff. But this just gives you some indication of some of the different sort of personal incomes across K's region, and some examples of how much people actually pay. And can I say that every time I go to a community, people always do have dog food bags around their houses, and when you look at the prices that they actually have to pay, it's pretty impressive, because I wouldn't be able to, on those wages, afford much food like that for my animals. And we also need to always remember that we're looking at animal health and welfare in the context of a human population that has high chronic disease and high health issues themselves. So that's the veterinary services. So of course, when we're looking at how many, in the Northern Territory, there's 5 locations in which there are veterinary services. Did you want me to do this, or?
Have I got time? Recognising that animal health and management impacts on community health and wellbeing, local governments and Aboriginal organisations across remote Australia, for the most part, do try to provide access to animal health services by contracting visiting vet services. Some regions also utilise environmental health and animal management workers to address animal population health and management concerns between veterinary visits. The resourcing for these services is, however, highly variable and often inconsistent, resulting in sporadic services with long absences of any form of animal health capacity. AMRRIC and RGRC, Roper Gulf Regional Council, work to overcome geographic and socio-economic barriers and assist remote communities to access vital animal health and veterinary services. It'd be a mistake to paint a completely rose-coloured picture of dog ownership in communities. Just as it is in other populations in Australia, there are those that love and care for their animals, those who are indifferent, and occasional, very occasional, cases of neglect and cruelty. Education is the key to impacting these behaviours, and it is important to remember that social change is incremental. Visitors to communities will sometimes jump to the wrong conclusions, like camp dogs are all strays. Not true. I could count on one hand the number of stray dogs in communities I work in. Aboriginal people don't care about their pets. Not true. Our service is highly valued by the majority of residents. Camp dogs are better off rehomed. In some instances, dogs are successfully adopted by people outside the community. However, it's important to remember that camp dogs have lived a free-roaming life, and adjustment to an urban lifestyle may not be in their best interest. Skinny dogs are all starving. Some communities like Numbulwar are challenged by malnutrition, as mentioned. That's where the dog food was $58 for an 8-kilo bag. But also, we need to remember that there are dogs that have contracted diseases like Babesia, and of course we've got Ehrlichia, just endemic throughout the communities. So they can cause chronic wasting and ill thrift, and people can jump to the wrong conclusion about dogs in communities.
So there's a whole range of challenges, and we don't have time to go into them now, but I've just sort of put them all up there, and you can, they're quite sort of logical and straightforward. But of course, there's a whole range of opportunities, including effective collaboration, looking at effective and holistic services, the education and local capacity, and being able to build that. It's a really amazing space to work with that two-way opportunity and being able to have learning both ways. And of course, there's significant growth to be had in actually getting sustainable programs in this space. I'll just keep going. You happy? Yeah. So one of the things that we often talk about is the cycle of intolerance, and when things are in a bad space, of course, a lack of effective companion animal leads to problems caused by companion animals and a greater intolerance, which leads to animal welfare issues and cruelty. However, when we have effective animal management programs, of course, we get fewer problems, positive human-animal interactions, and enhanced empathy. Oh, look, you got lots of clicks. So really, we just wanted to emphasise that the connection between humans and animals is one of the most fundamental bonds that human beings experience. And I think after you heard from Jeremiah yesterday, you understand for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people just how integral that animals are to their lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you.